Hello and welcome to the India Today group. I am Siddharth Zarabi and I am here in Dubai, one of the world's fastest growing real estate markets. High net worth migration, massive amounts of capital, speculation as well as appreciation is driving a boom in this real estate market. And today I am at one of the fastest growing Indian origin real estate players in Dubai and in the UAE.
Ankur Agarwal, Chairman and Founder, B&W Developments.
Ankur, thank you very much for joining us. You run this, you founded this, and I was looking at some of the numbers. This has been an amazing ride over the last 4-5 years. And you also have one of India's most famous big screen stars, Vivek Oberoi, with you. So before we get into some specifics, and I know many of our viewers would know that he is a chartered accountant by training, so we'll discuss some numbers as well. Give us a sense of your journey so far. Why Dubai? Why real estate?
Thank you, Siddharth bhai, for having me here, first of all. And why Dubai is quite obvious these days because of many factors which Middle East and especially this UAE is seeing right now. And a lot of people are coming in here. They are choosing Dubai as their second home. They feel that the Dubai is the safest country in the world, and it is actually like that only. There's a political stability, almost zero bureaucracy, ease of doing business, world-class infrastructure. You get a 10-year golden visa, which is renewable again. You can live here for throughout your life, and zero tax on individual incomes. And in real estate, particularly post-COVID, in my opinion, Dubai has performed best in the world as of now. So the property prices went up to 2 to 3 times just in 5 years, which is my career as well, real estate. So I have seen that growth there. So people speak about roller coaster Dubai real estate ride, but I haven't seen it. Since COVID, it's going up.
One-way trajectory?
One-way trajectory. And also, government is putting too much efforts and initiative. They are doing a lot of efforts to make it more continuing in a way which it is having right now. So in my opinion, it will not stop. So people wants to come here. So there was a time when it was pretty hard to convince the Western world to come to Dubai and invest, and they were like, kind of spectacle about not being an investor in Dubai real estate market. But now it's totally completely changed. So Americans are crazy in buying Dubai property, same as in UK.
As we walked into your office here, I noticed different nationalities, both in your staff and your buyers. And a famous footballer is also here. So clearly I take that point. Since you spoke about the fact that it is in some ways a one-way trajectory, because I was going to ask you, is this a bubble? But since you said it is a one-way trajectory, I want to understand, why is it therefore one-way trajectory? Is this structurally different? Because after COVID, even in India and other markets, we saw this boom, and then rates kind of plateaued. In certain cases, rates have fallen.
See, it's very simple that Dubai government, especially I will speak about UAE, not just Dubai only. UAE government has put a lot of initiative to welcome new population in the country. So just take the example of Dubai. Right now, current population is 3.8 million. And the kind of growth which Dubai is seeing right now, there will be more 2 million people in next 5 years. So to accommodate those people, we will be needing additional supply of around 500,000 rooms, 500,000 keys, which we cannot produce. The production can be, let's say, 300,000 only. And if you will go to land department database, it is 372,000 only. So if you cannot even complete the projected demand, so what about those initiatives which government is taking right now, and which will eventually increase the population of the country in a way that it needs to be properly supplied, which we cannot do.
Who is the buyer? Is it investor, speculator, or are you seeing end users come in? Because that's a fundamental aspect.
See, I'll tell you. So basically, it all generates through the tourism only. So when people come here as tourists, they see Dubai as their second home. This is the general tendency, and it happens to me as well, and it happened to many people, many people. So last year, we welcomed 25 million visitors, and the total population of UAE is only 10 million. So 2.5 times of the total population we welcomed as a tourist. So now when they come, they want to live here and they want to invest in the real estate, because this is the safest option and the first priority which eventually an investor looks. So there are both ways people are investing. There is a very, very, very high demand of retail units, means end consumer, and there are people who are looking to flip and to make the short term money, which is actually very popular in this.
So it's a mix.
It's a complete mix, and in fact the people who are putting their money as an investor, they rely more on the rental returns.
Does this mix mirror any other real estate markets globally, or is it very unique?
I don't think so. I haven't seen it anywhere, to be honest with you, because see, the rental returns are like 8 to 10% here. The bank rate of interest is 4.5%. So even if you are putting 40% as your capital and 60% from the bank funding, your capital will get free in 7 to 8 years. So there is no harm, and forget about the
I'm almost
appreciation.
feeling that some high net worth individual who might be on the cusp of buying a property in India might decide to change his mind after hearing you, because the equation there is completely the reverse.
No, I don't want to convince people to change their mind.
Wherever we see residential booming, we see an associated commercial property boom. Although that changed due to a bit after COVID, due to online shopping and all of that, and the quick delivery boom, particularly in the Indian context. Is it similar here in Dubai, or is it different?
See, retail unit or commercial unit is in high demand here for last 2 years. Before, it was not that situation. There was not very high demand of commercial units here. But suddenly what happened is that too many development we are seeing into the residential area only. So most of the developers are building residential units because of, it's very easy to sell. But I haven't seen many launches for the commercial units here in last 2 or 3 years. So there is an obvious gap.
Why? Because there is overcapacity already that existed?
No, because there was a high demand of residential unit. But suddenly when the supply of the commercial unit declines, it eventually created a gap of requirement and the supply in the commercial units as well. So what is going on here is that commercial units are in demand, it is in high demand, but there are not many options available as of now.
What is your particular business mix, product mix? Do you kind of only focus on real estate, or do you do a mix?
No. So right now we are doing only real estate development only. So right now in B&W we have launched 12 projects till now, and there are another 16 projects which is in pipeline, and then we have further acquisition as well. So in all our projects we have a mix of retail and residential, but the proportion is 1:9. So 10% is commercial and 90% is residential as of now. But slowly and gradually we need to change it a little bit, and we need to produce more commercial units as well, because there is a high demand, and of course the price is little bit high if you will buy a commercial unit, and it is actually beneficial for a developer as well, because in commercial unit you need to give them a shell and core unit. You don't need to furnish it, you don't need to put too much things into it. So the cost of construction will always be declined there, and you will get more money. So yes, there is a high demand of commercial unit, and there are projects. There should be more projects in the commercial. But the problem here is that we don't have much commercial plots available here. So basically the government's master plan does not have more commercial plots. It has to be changed a little, and it is changing actually.
Since you spoke about prices, for this entire conversation will go across our global feeds, but for our viewers in India, What is the comparison on a per square foot basis, if you could give, let's say with a Mumbai market or a Delhi Gurugram market?
It's a very interesting question. So in 2001, I'll take example of Gurugram, tier 1 area, let's say. So the price per square feet in Gurugram on a super area, because there we have a market of super and carpet area.
Correct.
We are paying prices on a super area, but we are getting a carpet area, which is 30% less than the super area.
And how is it here?
It's here, it's the usable area. So here there is a no concept of super area and the carpet area. So here you will get a area wall to wall, usable area. In fact, you will not be paying for the walls even. That doesn't come under the RERA guidelines to charge the customer for the walls. So it is the cost of developer.
Hopefully our regulators will listen to this point and change in the interest of, but continue your point.
Yes. So the price per square feet in Gurugram was around 15 to 20,000 rupees per square feet in 2020 or 2021, post-COVID, let's say. Now I have seen projects which are 70 to 80,000 per square feet even available in the tier 1 market of Gurugram or even in Mumbai. 50 to 70,000 square feet, let's say, right? So it is like 3 to 4,000 dirham per square feet on a super area, and you are paying it in India for a tier 1 place, right?
Okay.
But if you will pay 4,000 dirham per square feet in Dubai, you will get a unit in downtown, Burj Khalifa facing, and in the best location. What is it? It means that the price of Dubai is as good as the price of Indian real estate market, almost similar. In fact, if you will go to different places like tier 2 places, you will get unit for 1,500 or 2,000 dirham per square feet.
Where is the possibility and potential of appreciation more? In downtown, or if you go out?
Actually, it is everywhere.
What is the rate of appreciation that you can share with the last
I
3 years, for example?
I told you from COVID to now, it already went 2 to 3 times. And the kind of gap which we are seeing as of now, it will be more. So basically, why Dubai property prices are less? Just because Dubai is in a stage of reaching to its saturation level, which London, New York, Singapore, Monaco, other market have seen already. The tier 1, that's the zone 1 in London is like 4,000 pounds per square feet, 3,000 pounds per square feet. We don't have any property in Dubai which is like 12,000 dirhams per square feet till now. And in fact, the infrastructure of Dubai is better than London and New York as of now, as we speak. So basically, this is a journey which Dubai will eventually complete, and the people who are buying here will eventually get that benefit. It was a bubble before, but after the regulatory changes here, it has become more politically stable. The governance is not, the governance is so strong here that it will not let people lose their money at any cost. So, answer to your previous question, 200 nationalities are buying in Dubai as of now. 200 nationalities. I haven't seen any other place in this world.
No, that is absolutely. It's clearly a global market. I've seen the Hong Kong real estate market, the Singapore real estate market, among others, and that is completely a different thing. But since there are 200 nationalities, this means the money is coming from 200 nations, and therefore, would it be fair to ask the question and assume that because the risks of interest rate movements in those economies where your investors and buyers are coming from, and geopolitical shocks, Russia-Ukraine fight, maybe you saw a lot of capital coming. Is Dubai overexposed to such a risk because it is the whole world is buying here?
Actually, it's true. So basically, the political instability across this globe has benefited the UAE's real estate market. So if you will see any kind of disturbance across this globe, people will choose Dubai as their investment option, as their second investment option. So again, because of obvious reason of a stability. So UAE is out of all these factors. They have managed in that way that these factors are not affecting the UAE's real estate market. In fact, the change in the taxation policies in the UK market is benefiting the UAE's real estate market. The change in the policies of US is benefiting the UAE's real estate market. The western disturbance, the eastern disturbance, whatever it is actually benefiting the UAE's real estate market. So,
this is a very good insight, because the normal way of looking at things would have been very, very different. I want to come to your company and Ras Al Khaimah, as it is called, but one more sort of global question just to understand this. A few years ago, at peak COVID times, you would see headlines that people are abandoning Dubai and some other areas because jobs went away, supply chains got disrupted. That 2008 and the cyclicity to COVID, what was the journey then? This is what I wanted to understand.
Okay, so basically when Dubai real estate market was emerging from a local driven market to a freehold market, it was a process in which the regulatories are, creating their framework to take a control on the real estate market. In 2008, it was not very strong. And because of the global factors and the whole ecosystem has collapsed across this globe, it affected the UAE's real estate market also. So after then, government has put a lot of changes and they have created a very strong and the robust regulatory framework that the developers cannot play with the system. They cannot do whatever they want. The customer is completely protected here. The property is freehold. And one more thing, at that time there was not much freehold options available. Right now we have many more options available which is freehold. In fact, in my opinion, my numbers can be little wrong, but in my opinion 80% of the Dubai's real estate market is freehold as of now. So
that is a massive change.
That is a massive change. And government has taken very strict and strong decisions to robust the financial system of the company of the country as well, and the banking system of the country as well, and they recently came out of the FATF grey list. So now,
is Dubai still a cash market, or has that changed for real estate?
Unfortunately or fortunately, it is not a cash market. It is a misconception that Dubai is a cash market. Dubai is a regulated market.
Because you said FATF.
Exactly. And Dubai is a regulated market, and there are very strong AML compliance system has been implemented in the overall banking system of the UAE. So it is not a cash generated market. The money has to be proven record, whichever. So the money which is coming in the system, it has to be regulated basically. So it's not like that that you can get any money invested here.
कोई भी bag उठा के ले आएगा.
No, it's not like that.
Good.
And also, after the implementation of corporate tax and the VAT, it has become more regulated. So although the rate of taxation is less, but still you came under the compliance structure. You still have to file your return. You still have to declare that how much money you have earned, from where this money is coming in. You need to get your books audited. Everything is here.
Before I come to your company and its future plans, I want you, because a lot of people will definitely want me to ask you this question. In India, we saw a phase where many people were sold dreams. Big real estate campaigns were done. Big brands, big dreams were created. Money was taken upfront. Many of those companies collapsed. Some of those companies have still not delivered. 10 years have passed. And those prices were today's prices when it was sold 10, 12, 15 years back. The government responded. RERA has come in. You made a mention of that. But brand trust and brand value, I think we have seen improvements, but there are still some fears. Fundamentally, if you look at the Indian real estate market, how mature do you think it is? Is there still some work left on regulation and governance?
See, if you will compare these two economies, there is a very huge gap which needs to be filled. First of all, India's market is India market cannot be compared with the UAE's real estate market because the size of the India's real estate market is huge because of the obvious reason, which is population. We cannot compare it. The main reason why there is a problem in the India's real estate market is the involvement of bureaucracy in the system. So in UAE's real estate market, we don't have any kind of bureaucracy which is actually influencing the system of the market. There is no influence here. The system is actually system driven, right? First, this is the first thing. Second thing, the regulatory framework in India and in Dubai are almost same. We have a RERA there, we have a RERA here. The developer has to deposit money in the escrow account. There is a law, and here also we have a law. So law-wise, you will not see much difference.
What about availability of land? Is it so? Continue.
I'll come to that point as well. But the implementation of that law is more crucial. So basically, if the law is being implemented in our country properly, it will give the effect for which it has to be, for which the law has been actually created. So this is the main point, and it will take a lot of time to clear off the system. You cannot deny the fact that there is obviously a very huge involvement of bureaucracy in our Indian system. The second thing is the land availability in UAE has been controlled by the government. It's not being controlled by the people. So basically, government has the land of its own. So the complete desert is being owned by the royal family or let's say government. So basically, whenever they need additional land, they will clear off that land, they will create the master development, and they will ask the developers like us to do the development there. So basically, government is doing the development of their own, they are doing the master development, and they are creating the more areas to be developed. So basically...
So you have to bid for land, or do you get it on an allocation basis?
So basically, government come up with a plan. Either they will offer the plots to the developer directly, or you can buy through the government entities like Dubai Holding, like Nakheel, and like Miraz, and there are many master developers which represents the government itself. So basically, that is the control. That control is with the government itself. So basically, the supply and the demand gap is properly managed by the government itself. So basically, if you will feel that the land is less and we are facing the lack of supply, so government is in position to produce more land. So basically, the difference between India and Dubai is that we don't need to do a deforestation here. The land is available for the construction.
And basically, the control is very
fundamentally very strong here.
Okay. Now tell us about your company's focus area, RAK, as it is. Maybe viewers in India and those who are watching us globally might not fully understand. Tell us, what is it all about? It's one of the Emirates, and what are you doing there?
So basically, UAE consists of 7 Emirates, right? Out of which Ras Al Khaimah is one of the Emirate. So Ras Al Khaimah is not developed like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but what happened there is that they gave the permission to open the first casino of Middle East in that region. So there is a place called Al Marjan Island where they gave the permission to Wynn, the famous Las Vegas Wynn, to open a resort there and to open a casino facility in that area. So basically, this is the factor. This is the factor because of which a lot of people are coming in there, and they are anticipating 8 million visitors by 2028. And many reports says that. The world report says that. So the city where the emirate where the total population is slightly less than 600,000, if they will be welcoming 8 million visitors, where the demand will go up. So basically, they don't have that kind of infrastructure to accommodate those those tourists. Basically, they need 65,000 room keys, and the capacity of Al Marjan is 22,000, out of which only 8,000 keys can be delivered by Q2 2027 when the casino will be opened. So definitely people will be making a lot of money on the Airbnb model, short-term vacation model, and there is a lack of...
So is that why you are focusing on that market? What are your plans there?
So basically, I give this credit to my destiny only that we chose a place where it actually happened. We relied on a news article, and we went there. We bought the we bought the plots
I'm
there.
glad you relied on a news article. In this world of social media, people say news mein kya value rakha hai. I'm very happy you said
No,
this.
basically the
There is still value
whole our
in news.
destiny got changed just because of a news article that was published in Arabian Business 26 January 2022.
Wow.
Which-
Good for business journalism.
Exactly.
but-
Which mentioned that the casino is coming into the Middle East and especially in Ras Al Khaimah. So we went there. We asked government to give us the plot, and they offered us the plot on a payment plan. And then yes, from there we kept on buying the plots there, and now we have 9 projects just in Al Marjan Island, and there is a place near to the Al Marjan Island, a new master development which is called Rex Central, which is like kind of a downtown of Ras Al Khaimah. There we have 8 projects, and then they came up with new master development which is Marjan Beach. Again, we are coming up with 5 more projects in that region. So basically, the demand is huge. So
Yeah, the numbers that you go, I mean, it's fantastic. You know, before we come to the end of this conversation, at the World Government Summit, I have met several Indian startup founders and, of course, large companies as well. Before that, I was at the World Economic Forum, and there also you get to see very mature, very large companies. The one thing that amazes me, and I was speaking to one of the most well-known business management education professors earlier, and I asked him that, what do you think is the reason that a lot of Indians do so well in global companies, you know? It could be IT
I'll give you
and
the
others.
reason behind
And so,
that.
you know, relate that from your own personal
Sir,
journey.
we are workaholic people. We can work 16, 18 hours a day.
How many hours do you put in?
Slightly more than 15 hours every day. I can work.
And is that fueled by coffee?
No. It's fueled by the ambition.
That's a good one. That's a good one. What is your ambition there?
My ambition is to grow with the people, to make the people around me happy, and to grow with my people. Now we have a family of 516 individuals with 83 nationalities. There will be more people. So I want to grow with people.
83 nationalities means how many languages?
Almost practically all language of this world. So we want to grow with people. This is my ambition. So I don't calculate my success into numbers. I calculate my success in the growth of the people working with me. So ROI is return on individuals, not return on investments.
Will there be a return on India, ROI? Will you invest in
It's
India?
a new one actually, yes. It will be, yes, it should be seen as return for India.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the plan there?
So plan is to do all the procurements or as much as possible from India, and to contribute in the Indian's economy, and to participate in the Make in India plan.
That's a very good point, because the real estate industry, I don't know how many of our viewers know this, that it is the largest driver of economic growth.
Exactly.
Because in any real estate project, there are more than 3 dozen inputs that come in. So it drives the economy.
Exactly. We can buy anything from India. Now we are getting marbles, the tiles, the bath fittings, the electrical fittings, the home automation.
Where are the tiles coming from? Morbi?
Of course, Morbi. Of course, Morbi. In fact,
And the marble is from Rajasthan?
Udaipur, yes. In fact, the bath fittings is also from Morbi. Sorry, yes, this showers and all this stuff. So basically, we can produce anything.
Why
So,
not China? Aren't they cheaper?
Sir, even if it is 5% more price in India, I would prefer going to India. Mera Bharat Mahan.
Mera Bharat Mahan, from someone who is made Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, his Karma Bhumi, and that's the Indian entrepreneur, founder, global citizen story. I've been fortunate over the years to talk to many people who are born, bred, or have origins in India but have worked across the globe. Indians work very, very hard. That's the point that he made. And are culturally able to handle all manner of chaos. Our country teaches us that. But Ankur, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you,
This
Siddharth.
conversation could have continued, but hopefully we will do another conversation of this kind, but that we will do from that small but fast growing RAK, Ras Al Khaimah, that Ankur spoke about. I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank
With
you.
that, it's a wrap on this conversation. on the sidelines of the World Government Summit. I'll see you again. Until then, goodbye.